Deep in a remote Afghan province, a criminal gang seizes two female aid workers. The kidnappers make extensive demands and threaten to sell them to the Taliban. There is little precedent for actually getting anyone back. To free them, a combined team of the two finest special forces in the world is mobilized, Britain's SAS and the US Navy SEALs. Hostage rescue is a mission close to the SEALs' hearts. They risk their lives to save others. But hostage rescues are difficult and dangerous, mistakes can be fatal. This is no computer game, this is real. Operation Jubilee is the true story of how the best planned and executed one of their most challenging missions. In Afghanistan's most remote northerly province, Badakhshan, two aid workers are traveling with Afghan guides to visit a clinic and provide medical assistance. 28-year-old Helen Johnston is a British nutritionist and graduate of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Helen had stated before she went that she wanted to teach young mothers how to care for their children properly. With her is 26-year-old Kenyan health worker Morway. Both women work for the Swiss-based charity Medair, which aims to address basic issues of healthcare, malnutrition, and sanitation in one of the poorest, most deprived areas in the world. Badakhshan is an extremely poor region with a high child mortality rate, which is one of the reasons why aid workers go there, to try to reduce that. There are major problems getting food in during the winter. If you're going to work there, you really have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Until now, Badakhshan has been considered relatively safe. The Taliban aren't active in the area, and attacks are rare. Helen and her colleagues think they'll be okay. But Afghanistan is a dangerous and unpredictable country. Everyone in Afghanistan has a gun. The people may smile and seem friendly, but that doesn't mean they won't harm you. As Helen and Morway head up into the mountains, they don't realize they're being watched. When you're a Westerner operating on your own in a place like Afghanistan, you become a target simply because of the perception that you may have money. If you've got $400 or $500 in cash, that's 5 or 6 years' salary in some parts of Afghanistan. It's mind-blowing. I don't think they understand the risks involved. On a remote hillside road, they are ambushed by a well-armed gang. The attackers steal cameras, mobile phones, laptops, and wallets. At this stage, Helen and her colleagues have no idea who has attacked them or what will become of them. Are they bandits, Taliban, or even Al-Qaeda? This is the beginning of a terrifying ordeal. Within days, the kidnappers make contact with the Afghan government and release a video of demands. They have captured two Western women and are holding them for ransom. Their price is $1 million, a figure they plucked out of the air. They also demand the release of some of their colleagues who are imprisoned in Kabul. If their demands aren't met, they threaten to kill the hostages. The kidnappers believe they are well hidden in a valley in Badakhshan, with no security forces nearby. The video reveals some good news: the kidnappers aren't political. They're not Al-Qaeda or Taliban, just bandits out to further their own interests. This group has an agenda: they want money and the release of their own members from prison. The gang is a mixture of local drug runners and criminals, led by a known brigand, Abdulahad Mahir. In a society as poor as Badakhshan, young men often gravitate to the money that insurgent gangs can provide. What we regard as crime, smuggling, trafficking, they regard as the ancient ways of their province. The gangs don't go around with specific labels, they are coalitions of interest, often just brigands and bandits trading in human flesh because it's more valuable than stealing sheep. 4 days later, news of the kidnapping reaches the British government. This message would have come through the Foreign Office to number 10, an aid worker has gone missing. This is world news. The British have limited options: pay the money, but Britain doesn't negotiate with terrorists, hope the Afghan authorities can resolve the situation, unlikely, or send in the troops. They choose the third option. The operation is passed on to the International Security Assistance Force, ISAF. 49 countries make up NATO-led ISAF, which oversees all military operations in Afghanistan. At their Kabul headquarters, rescuing the hostages becomes a priority mission. The picking of the teams and putting them on standby starts very quickly. Within 2 or 3 hours, the commander of ISAF, General John Allen, and his deputy, Lieutenant General Adrian Bradshaw, are discussing the operation. Bradshaw suggests letting the SAS handle the rescue, as they are among the best at hostage rescues. The planners begin by asking basic questions: where was the person last seen? What are the enemy forces surrounding that person? Where is the location? How can we get from where we are now to that location? Can we expect enemy resistance? All these factors go through the planners' minds. At the back of their minds is the fact that hostage extractions are notoriously difficult. The British are haunted by an event that happened 2 years earlier, the death of British aid worker Linda Norgrove. Linda was snatched by the Taliban in almost identical circumstances. Fearing for her life, the British authorized a rescue mission conducted by US Special Forces, but it went terribly wrong. There's no handbook on how to rescue a hostage. When a fragmentation grenade was thrown, it wasn't realized that Linda was nearby. She died from shrapnel wounds. It was a valiant effort, but a tragic accident. In Kabul, Generals Allen and Bradshaw start putting together an operational plan. Any military operation nowadays is defined by the 3 F's: find, the location, fix, ensure the people are there when you arrive, and finish, the conduct of the operation, often meaning killing the enemy. Initially, the mission planners focus on the first F, finding the gang. Finding the rough location of the hostages proves straightforward. The kidnappers have been careless. Mobile phones in Afghanistan are nothing more than little radios, and everyone has one. By using their mobiles in negotiations, the kidnappers have given themselves away. British intelligence intercepts the calls, using a combination of GPS and cell network triangulation to establish a rough location. They deduce the kidnappers are somewhere within a deep cave complex in the vast Koa forest in northwest Badakhshan. Caves can be very difficult to assault. The rescuers need more detailed information to pinpoint the exact location of the kidnappers. They launch unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, to gather intelligence. Once you've identified the hostages, you need to establish the environment they're in. That's where satellite surveillance and drone surveillance come in. Flown remotely by operators in California, these drones can spot the kidnappers without being detected. Using infrared cameras with digitally enhanced zoom lenses, they can identify the heat signature of a human body from an altitude of 3 kilometers. They can see everything: weapons, guards, approaches, and routines. Thanks to the drone, the exact location of the hostages is pinpointed. The kidnappers are now under 24-hour surveillance. The gang is well armed with AK-47 assault rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, and a Russian belt-fed machine gun capable of shooting down helicopters. In a very short period, the rescuers know precisely who they're dealing with, what weapons they have, and where they are located. Over the next few days, the Joint Special Forces Group watches the kidnappers' activities on real-time video transmitted via satellite from the drone. They use this information to plan the details of the rescue. Unaware they are being watched, the kidnappers continue negotiations. This is all part of the ISAF plan. It is essential to negotiate to profile the principal players. The kidnappers are led to believe that their demands will be met, the money is coming, and their colleagues will be released. This lulls them into a false sense of security. From their extensive military resources, ISAF commanders select who to send on the mission. It is expected that the Brits will lead the operation, with the SAS taking the lead. The SAS is the elite special forces and counter-terrorism unit of the British Army. Once a largely secretive organization, they came to the world's attention in 1980 during the Iranian embassy siege. The SAS is known for its ability to fight unsupported anywhere in the world. They are experts in stealth and surprise, with surveillance skills that help them monitor, infiltrate, and execute targets with deadly efficiency. The SAS has been deployed to Afghanistan since 2001 and has been heavily active in countless covert missions. They are widely regarded as the best of their kind and are the model for countless special forces across the world. Close-quarter battle, CQB, requires intense training with live ammunition in confined spaces. The SAS trains rigorously for such missions. But the SAS aren't the only elite force in Afghanistan. America has an impressive range of special forces, with SEAL Team 6 standing out as the best of the best. Since arriving in Afghanistan, the SEALs have operated as a special reconnaissance unit, often out in the field for up to 45 days at a time. They have killed over 200 Taliban fighters and destroyed tens of thousands of pounds of weapons and ordnance. SEAL Team 6's most famous mission was assassinating Osama bin Laden. SEALs are handpicked after years of intensive screening and grueling selection processes. They are trained in the use of all weapon systems and are America's ultimate high-tech killing machine. SEAL Team 6 and the SAS complement each other in many ways. They have cross-trained for years and share the same mindset and attitude when it comes to training and battle. Just 6 days after the 8 workers are abducted, a combined force comprising 28 members of the SAS and an equal number of U.S. Navy SEALs fly up to Badakhshan and establish themselves in a forward operating base around 30 minutes flying time from the hostages' location. Hostage rescue is a mission close to the SEALs' hearts. They risk their lives to save others, and this mission is no different. While waiting for the mission to be greenlit, the SAS and SEALs begin planning how to take out the kidnappers. They conduct rehearsals, using sand models and low-tech methods to familiarize themselves with the mission. A key problem is how to get to the hostages without being detected. The caves are in a remote region, so troops will need to be inserted by helicopter. However, helicopters are noisy, and if the kidnappers hear them, the hostages could be killed. To maintain the element of surprise, the helicopters must land 2 miles from the caves, and the troops will then march to their objective. This is a tough task given the mountainous and forested terrain. The team spend hours memorizing the hostages' faces and the terrorists' appearances to avoid accidentally killing the captives. 7 days after being captured, one of the drones monitoring the hostages' position gleans vital new intel. Helen and Morway have been separated from their Afghan guides. The 2 groups are now being held in separate caves over a mile apart. The rescuers will need to adapt their plan and assault 2 targets simultaneously. The news gets worse. British intelligence intercepts a conversation between the kidnappers and the Taliban. The kidnappers have made contact with the Taliban and are planning to sell the hostages. This is a game changer. There is now a very real threat to the women's lives. Analysts expect the kidnappers to do the deal with the Taliban within 24 hours. For the American commander of ISAF, General John Allen, this is a critical moment. If the hostages are moved or sold, it could mean they are lost forever. He advises London that the mission must be launched immediately. Within hours, the Prime Minister is informed, and the mission is greenlit. The 70-strong rescue force is put on high alert and runs through final checks. They know what they're up against and how tough this mission will be. Any errors could be catastrophic. Afghanistan is a difficult environment, and the mission is dangerous. The helicopter landing zone is 2 miles from the caves, far enough to mask the engine noise and maintain the element of surprise. The troops will split into 2 assault forces and march through steep, wooded valleys at night to their objectives. The SAS will target the cave where Helen and Morway are believed to be held, while SEAL Team 6 will advance on a separate cave complex where the guides are being held. On arrival, both units will storm the caves, neutralize the kidnappers, and secure the hostages. Finally, the hostages and troops will evacuate by the same entry route and fly back to base by helicopter. The mission is planned in minute-by-minute detail. The special forces involved have a thorough understanding of the ground, their entry and exit points, and the operation's objectives. They know the timings, weather, wind state, and everything else they need to succeed. For hours before takeoff, the special forces begin kitting up. Limited helicopter space and the long march ahead mean they can only take the bare essentials. They stay light to move quickly. Each soldier carries a helmet with a camera, a mic for radio communication, goggles, body armor, a sidearm, and an assault weapon. The launch time for the operation is set for 5 p.m. local time on Friday, the 1st of June. As the light begins to fade, MH-60L Black Hawk helicopters wait on the flight line. The smell of aviation fuel instills a sense of seriousness into the situation. This is no computer game, this is real. The pilots crank up their engines, and the combined SAS and Navy SEAL assault units board the helicopters. The flight to the landing zone takes just 30 minutes. By landing 2 miles from the caves, the approaching helicopters aren't heard by the kidnappers. The first troops on the ground secure the helicopter landing site at the top of a rocky valley. They coordinate the arrival of the remaining Black Hawks, and the troops disembark. The helicopters fly off into the night, leaving absolute silence. The assault force now splits up and heads off to the 2 different objectives. The SAS will head for the cave containing the 8 workers, while the Navy SEALs will advance on the cave containing the guides. It is a 2-mile march across rough terrain covered in dense forest to their assault positions around the caves. Special forces marching 2 miles is nothing, but the challenge is keeping it quiet. To do a 2-mile trek in the woods at night silently takes a long time. Everyone scans their surroundings, paying attention to how and where they step to avoid giving away their position. In their Kabul operations room, General Allen and his British deputy, Lieutenant General Adrian Bradshaw, are watching the events unfold through images relayed via satellite from the soldiers' helmet cameras. Everything is recorded, so they see what the soldiers see. It's a very tense operation. The SAS arrives at their location and stakes out the cave. 3 miles away, SEAL Team 6 gets into position outside the cave where the guides are believed to be held. The longer the teams have been together, the less communication is needed. Hand signals are fine, but in pitch black, sometimes a squeeze means "I'm ready." Just before they move in, there is time for one final kit check. The more experience you have, the more confident you are. Every soldier wants combat experience, it's the pinnacle of their career. At ISAF headquarters, Lieutenant General Bradshaw waits for both teams to get into position. It is vital that both attacks are coordinated. Surprise is key. Only when he is certain both teams are ready does he give the order to assault. First, they throw in flashbang grenades to shock the occupants of the cave. Then they storm the caves. Everything is quick and concise. In just minutes, it is all over. The dead kidnappers are searched for intelligence and weapons, but no hostages are found. Back in the operations room, the commanders are alarmed. Have the hostages been moved, or worse, are they dead? The focus now shifts to the second cave. Everything depends on what the SAS finds there. As the SAS move in, they are spotted by the kidnappers, who respond with a barrage of shots. The element of surprise is gone. Since the first trigger has been pulled, speed, aggression, and surprise are crucial. The SAS moves in, mixing it with the kidnappers and neutralizing them. In the cave, all the kidnappers are killed. Now the SAS can search for the hostages. Helen and Morway are found alive and well, along with their guides. After giving the captives a quick checkup, they are dragged out of the cave. Now they all need to get home safely. But the mission is still far from over. Just because you've got the hostage and killed the kidnappers, there could be more enemies nearby. The soldiers remain switched on. Barefoot, the hostages are carried by the soldiers the entire 2 miles back to the helicopter landing site before flying back to Kabul. Within hours, they are approaching ISAF headquarters in Kabul. The operation isn't over until they get home. After 12 terrifying days, the hostages' ordeal is over. This is a textbook operation: hostages freed, all the kidnappers eliminated, and no members of the Special Forces teams hurt. In the early hours of the morning, Downing Street is informed that the rescue mission has been a complete success. British Prime Minister David Cameron personally speaks by telephone to the soldiers involved, praising their courage and thanking them for achieving such a successful outcome. Later in the morning, outside 10 Downing Street, Cameron announces the success of the mission to the world's press. It was an extraordinarily brave, breathtaking operation that our troops had to carry out. He pays tribute to their incredible skill and dedication, as well as the American troops who took part in the related operation. In Kabul, for the combined special forces returning to base, everything has gone perfectly. Politically and militarily, it was a textbook operation. Operation Jubilee is an outstanding example of a complex mission flawlessly executed at every phase. From finding the hostages and gathering intel to prepping the teams, inserting them into the locations, killing the kidnappers, and rescuing the aid workers, this mission is a testament to the professionalism of the hostage rescue teams, both British and American. Although the names of those involved will never be revealed, their contribution is in the best traditions of the service and builds on the reputation and mystique of the finest special forces in the world. The narrative to this whole story, as well as getting the hostages back, is clear: don't mess with the British. Don't kidnap our people, because this is what's going to happen to you.